Welcome to the Color Me Psychic hotline. Where are you calling in from today?
I am calling in from Texas.
Awesome, welcome. So, what question do you find yourself asking over and over that you want to explore today?
Okay, so something that has been on my mind recently is how do I scale? How
Okay,
do I scale
awesome.
in my business?
Awesome, perfect. I'm going to have you think about that question. So, how do you scale your business? And when you think about that question, where in your body starts making noise, or where is there a sensation in your body?
In my chest.
Awesome. And would you say that that sensation in your chest, does it feel heavy or light? So heavy meaning like upset or down or off, or light meaning like airy and exciting and happy.
It feels it feels expansive.
Okay.
There is a little bit of restriction there.
Okay. How would you describe it? So expansive, some restriction. Are there any other words that you would use to describe it?
There's excitement there, the expansiveness, it feels exciting. There's curiosity there
Awesome.
as well.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. You were able to color out the sensation before you called. You sent over a picture of it. The cool thing about colorings, especially if there is some excitement and some like tightness, it means that some of the what you colored is going to have like a heavy meaning and representation, and other ones are going to be light. So we'll just go kind of shape and color specific, or as I'm using the color mending therapy step-by-step guide, the color chart and the common shapes chart. First, when you sat down to color out the sensation, what did you color first?
The first thing that I colored was that little face, that
Cool.
little triangle, and then the other eye, which I found very interesting. The eyes, then I went to the mouth, then I went to like the eyelashes, followed by the cheeks.
Cool. So this face specifically, it's coming up as like a light representation. So colors can have heavy or they can have light meanings. For faces specifically, this one has to do with how you see yourself. And so yellow specifically means like proud. So there's like a deep satisfaction and the self-respect for how much you have worked to grow your career and where you currently are in your career. So there's a lot of satisfaction and like self-respect there, which is awesome. For triangles, let's look at the triangle. So triangles have to do with the connection to your inner self. This specifically has to do with happiness and delight. So being able to connect with yourself, that brings a lot of happiness. It feels like this career is also something that connects you better to yourself, more so than previous careers might have. For squares, so squares have to do with how you treat yourself. The yellow in this specific shape, this has to do with also being proud. So that self-respect and feeling whole and complete, and just having some deep satisfaction there. The cheeks, that has to do with things that are, let's see, feeling complete. Specifically, is that a red or a pink for the cheeks?
It's a red.
A red? Awesome. So there's a lot of like acceptance. So this career feels like you finally found your sense of belonging in your community, and just kind of it feels like your calling in a way of like the gifts that you have, and and how you're using them. So eyelashes specifically have to do with like your freedom or like how free you feel. The black that you used has to do with like forgiveness. So letting go, this specifically is like you have found a lot of freedom in letting go of kind of like the expectations that others had for you in your career. And this kind of feels like you're charting your own path. So the face in of itself is like just really, there's a lot of like contentment and a lot of like peace and satisfaction with your career. What was the next thing that you colored?
The next thing would have been that little hat.
Cool. Hats have to do with like how in charge and like how much control you feel like you're in. So this specifically is also coming through as like a light energy. So it does mean that you do recognize that you have a lot of control and a lot of say of how your career is turning out and how it's kind of shaping up. The colors that you used, so let's look at is that a green that you used for like the base of the hat?
Yes, there's green and blue. It's colored in with blue.
Awesome. So the green specifically represents resolution, like your freedom and the control that you have feels like it's able to help you resolve maybe some tensions or conflicts that you've had in previous roles or in previous like chapters of your career. The blue specifically has to do with peaceful. So just again, a sense of like an inner quietness and a contentment of the work that you're doing. The swirls, so swirls have to do with like you wanting to change and wanting to expand kind of your reach or what you're able to do in your career. Are those black or are those green?
Which ones?
The swirls in the hat?
The swirls are green.
Green? Awesome. Mm-hmm. So green for the swirls means that a lot of the change that you are looking to kind of grow in your career is rooted in love. So a lot of the change is going to be stemming from the love that you have towards the people that you interact with in your career, and then also love of yourself and love of the work that you're doing as well. And then the black outline essentially just means that with change, you're going to be with these changes that are coming up, it's going to give you the opportunity to let go of a lot of negativity or just a lot of like resentment or kind of angst that you've had maybe in previous roles or previous chapters in your career. How's this all sounding so far?
It feels very, very accurate.
Awesome. It came from you. So yeah, just know that these are all the feelings and this is like the messages that your body and your emotions are trying to get you to see. And this will help kind of propel you or kind of show you the foundation that you've built already and kind of help you navigate to that next level. What shape and color do you want to explore next?
So the next thing that I drew was the grass with the 3 flowers. And then after that, I moved on to all those little bystanders.
Okay.
And those are orange.
Love it. Grass specifically has to do with abundance and feeling like you have enough. This is coming up as like a light emotion. So it just is reinforcing that you feel like very content and like very like you're living an abundant life, and like you have enough. There's a lot of gratitude and appreciation for what you've built. Flowers have to do with your happiness. Again, just reinforcing like with the abundance and the happiness, like you just feel very grateful for what you've built and the things that you're doing with your career. The number 3 has to do with growth and expansion. And just knowing that like your growth and expansion is happening at like the best time for you, like the perfect timing for you. The blue specifically has to do with again peacefulness. So there's a lot of like peace and contentment with what you have already and what you've built. Moving on to the people, these are also coming through as like light, a light shape and color. So when we see people or bodies, it has to do with how you feel about yourself. For the color orange, this is where you feel like really inspired, so mentally stimulated and creatively energized. There's something about your career where it helps you kind of connect to yourself deeper, and there is a lot of inspiration there too. It kind of feels like there's layers that are kind of being unraveled or unfolded with like the people that you interact with, and then also what you learn about yourself as you do more of the work that you're doing. Hearts have to do with how you're currently feeling, and hearts for this has to do with like self-assured. So just feeling really secure in like your worth and your offerings without having other people having to validate you. There's a lot of like steadiness and just calm in what you do.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
That's awesome.
I know that what I do is helpful. Like I see it, I experience it, I see it in the faces, I see it. So that feels good. That's very empowering.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It feels like what you've built is, I mean, even if you connect it back to like the face, like it did come from a place of love, and it did come from a place of like wanting deeper connection with yourself. And so I think it just is validation that like what you built is like very has a strong foundation, and like you said, you already know the value that it brings to others. And
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because when we do something that is rooted in love and when we do something that's deeply connected to our inner being, we really don't need that validation. We have that humble knowing that we're on the right path and that everything is working out. And that's all we need to know.
for sure. You want to talk about the path that you colored?
Yeah, I found that interesting. And I guess it makes sense for me. Like, it's a path, right? This is where I started. Where am I? Maybe I'm somewhere in the middle or the second square and then the finish. I think what I found interesting is that I chose the start and the beginning to be red. And so I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, for sure. So this path is the only thing that is heavy or has like a heavy meaning in the coloring. So let's go ahead and unpack that. It's really not uncommon for colorings to have heavy and light symbols in a coloring. So paths have to do with the direction that you want to move in life. Let's go ahead and look at the each of the squares kind of leading up to, we'll start with the start and then go to the finish. It's going to tell a story. So let's go through and kind of talk about each one, and then we can kind of wrap it all together. So red specifically has to do with at the start has to do with a betrayal or a hurt. So just being disappointed by someone that you depended on. It's not yourself, but it does feel like an external or someone else. Yellow has to do with um, feeling insecure. So just uncertain about like the values. Again, this is all just like clues and information, but we'll like kind of work with it to tell a story. So next, is that black?
That's green. No, it's different than the other green. It's more like an olive green.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one has to do with grief. So think it's coming through as like grief of like who you once were, or like the changes that you had to make, or like grieving former versions of, like, of yourself as you've gone kind of along this path. Blue has to do with sad. So
Hmm.
this is like more disappointment, and this is more of like disappointment in others. The purple has to do with rebelliousness. This specifically is like going against convention, or maybe the like your community or the people that you were surrounding yourself with, what they were expecting you to do, or kind of like the values or the what they thought you should be doing. The orange has to do with fixated, so just being kind of like ruminating and being stuck on specific thoughts. This specifically is more of like ruminating on thoughts instead of like taking action. And then the finish line also has to do with betrayal. What's interesting about all of this, though, is it feels like it's telling like this really beautiful story of the thing that got you into the career you're currently in is like a betrayal of like someone or something, and then you've kind of had to shed different layers of yourself to get to where you're at. And there, like with any change, there's always grief, there's always weighing the pros and cons of like the expectations of others and playing by your own rules. And it feels like at the finish line, it's still like the this question mark of like, if I want to grow and if I want to expand, or if I want to take my career to the next level, am I going to have to do all of that again? So it's really this beautiful story of look at everything that I built and like being so content and happy and feeling like a very rich life, and then navigating this, like basically just like, is it going to happen again? Like, do I want to go through something similar again?
Wow. Wow, this is deep. Definitely something to whew, process through. That little pathway. Yeah, I can see how it's maybe, yeah, it's telling a story of like, yeah, my past or like my childhood, really. And I guess, okay, yeah, I guess I just need to process through it.
So a lot of times what coloring does is it just shows us like our mental models that we're still holding on to, that we're ready to let go of, but they're the things that are kind of blocking us from reaching our next level. So we all have like these mental models about how we're supposed to show up in the world and our place in the world and how like the role that we play. And they're from past experiences and cultural expectations and all of that goodness. And there's two specific ways that we can change our mental models. We can either do like therapeutic, like psychotherapy practices where we can go back in time and or just like revisit past events and kind of reshape the stories that we're telling ourselves and reshape the just like the beliefs about ourselves and how we fit into the world. And the second is just like acknowledging that it's there and then deliberately curating different experiences for us to make new data points.
Right. Yeah, to create
Yeah,
new neural pathways.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
Wonderful. Well, this was very enlightening, very accurate. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And just a reminder to all y'all listeners. So I use the color mending therapy step-by-step guide that has the color and the shapes charts. So if you want to get a copy of that, you can scan the QR code and then you can schedule your own reading, get on the show by scanning this QR code. But we'll see you all next time.